Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Chrome Tour golf ball from Callaway.
Hello there, I'm Anna Jackson. Welcome into Golf Central on this Monday as we bring you today's breaking news. The PGA Tour announced earlier today it has reinstated five-time major champion Brooks Koepka. Koepka signed with LIV Golf in the summer of 2022. He won the PGA Championship at Oak Hill in 2023 as a member of LIV Golf. But on December 23rd, Koepka announced he was not going to return to LIV for the 2026 season. This Friday, it was announced he applied for reinstatement to the tour, and the PGA Tour did not waste any time bringing him back into the fold. So a statement released by Brooks Koepka today, quote, "I want to thank my family and my team for their continued support throughout every step of my professional career. When I was a child, I always dreamed about competing on the PGA Tour, and I'm just as excited today to announce that I'm returning to the PGA Tour. Being closer to home and spending more time with my family makes this opportunity especially meaningful to me. I believe in where the PGA Tour is headed with new leadership, new investors, and an equity program that gives players a meaningful ownership stake. I also understand there are financial penalties associated with this decision, and I accept those. Finally, I want to thank the fans. Your support means more to me today than ever before, and I look forward to seeing you soon at the Farmers Insurance Open and the WM Phoenix Open." So Koepka's reinstatement itself is huge news, but the PGA Tour has gone one step further today, announcing the creation of a returning member program, with the potential target being other players currently on LIV Golf. So a memo from PGA Tour CEO Brian Rowlap. On December 23rd, 2025, Brooks Koepka notified the PGA Tour that his contractual commitments with LIV Golf had concluded and subsequently applied for reinstatement of his tour membership. This prompted the boards to evaluate how best to respond in a way that serves our fans, players and partners. In evaluating the situation, our objectives were clear. Number one, make the PGA Tour stronger. Number two, preserve playing opportunities for current members. And number three, deliver on fan desire to see the best players in the world back on our tour, while ensuring returning members must accept severe yet appropriate financial consequences. We recognise there may be questions about how the policy holds a returning player accountable, especially after earning substantial compensation elsewhere. Ultimately, by accepting membership in the returning member category, Brooks is making the decision to return to the PGA Tour now, something our fans want and something that strengthens both the game and our organisation. The returning member program ensures that only those who have recently achieved the highest accomplishments in the game are eligible to return to the PGA Tour, where the best players in the world compete week in and week out. This is a one-time defined window and is not a precedent for future situations. Once the door closes, there is no promise that this path will be available again. Best, Brian. So this is how the returning member program will work. Players can return to the PGA Tour if they've been away for at least 2 years. They are also, is here in one of the important parts, needed to have won a major championship, all the players in the last 3 years. They must comply with the PGA Tour regulations and they must apply for reinstatement before February 2nd. Now, the only 4 players eligible through the program is Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm and Cam Smith. There will be financial penalties as well imposed on any returning member. They'll be ineligible for equity through the Tour's program. They'll be ineligible for the FedEx Cup bonus program this year, and they must pay $5 million in charitable donations. And finally, how will it affect the rest of the PGA Tour this season? Well, fields will be expanded to accommodate returning players. The returning players must earn spots in signature events. They will not be eligible for sponsor exemptions, but players will ultimately be eligible for the FedEx Cup playoffs this year if they qualify. So that is, of course, a lot to digest. So to dive into it, I'm pleased to bring in Damon Hack and Eamon Lynch here. Damon, you were on air a little bit earlier today when this broke. It's fascinating. It's a strong move by Brian Rowlap. What was your initial reaction?
A seismic day in our game. I felt like the Brian Rowlap era began today with this news. I think it completely resets the PGA Tour LIV discussion. One of the 3 best players of the last dozen years, Brooks Koepka, has returned to the PGA Tour. I'd say Scotty and Rory being the other two. It also opens the door potentially for Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, and Cameron Smith to follow. Whether you think the penalties are too strong or not enough, I think the fans ultimately were the biggest winner today.
Yeah, I spoke to Brian Rowlap earlier today, and he reiterated very much that he approached this from a business lens. And he doesn't have any of the baggage that his predecessor, Jay Monahan, had in this job. He hadn't been through any of the lawsuits and the scuffles in the discovery process and all of that. And he said to me that it's a solution for now. And it's for this moment that this has been designed. And it's very much his emphasis that he's going to make the PGA Tour better. And that increases the value, presumably, of these equity shares. So that's a selling point for the actual elite players in the game who are going to benefit from that program. He's also said it's a big deal, the protecting of existing members. Once you start to tell the rank and file that a LIV player, whether it's Koepka or anyone else coming back, does not adversely impact their career, that their own clubs will determine how their career goes forward. I think that's a big selling point for those guys as well. And he's trying very much to put the fan-friendly lens on this. He wants to emphasise that this is what they keep hearing. Fans want to see these guys play more often, and that's why they're trying to be opportunistic and take the emphasis off what has previously been the emphasis in this conversation. What's the punishment?
It's interesting how they have designed this returning member programme. It turns out that only 4 players are eligible, that being Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm and Cam Smith. Eamon, they've had to be away for at least 2 years and they needed to have won a major championship, all the players in the last 3 years. Why did they go back to 2022, do you think, to make this line?
Well, if you go back to 2021, you might have to include Phil Mickelson, and he's about as welcome in a PGA Tour locker room as influenza at this point. But it's also, I think it's very artfully constructed for 2022 because that's when LIV played its first event in June of 2022. That's really what the point of reference they're taking from there. And it also, it takes away a potential sore point with the rank and file members, because the guys who won majors or the players in that window would have status had they still been on the PGA Tour. Brooks Koepka's status is from the 2023 PGA Championship win. So he's good through 2028. So it's not as though they were going to bring back a guy whose status had expired. And suddenly you're going to tell them, well, we're gifting them status that they had not otherwise earned. These are the only 4 guys of whom it can be said they had earned status, and if they were to come back now, that status could say they still exist.
It's purposely narrow and defined. I think it's a reminder that Brian Rowlap believes that the PGA Tour is the best tour in the world, that I'm not just going to take anybody back. We want the best of the best. And yes, there may have been acrimony over the last several years, but if you're coming back to the PGA Tour, you're going to have a certain level of quality. You are a major champ. You are a players champ. You are one of the best players in the world. So with all of the craziness over the last few years, I think ultimately Brian Rowlap is reminding everyone that the PGA Tour is the best tour in the world, and we're not going to just take everybody back who left. You have to have a certain level of status in this game.
The door has opened back to the PGA Tour, but just the smallest of cracks to let just the very best 4 players in it with a chance to return. Right now, we are looking at February 2nd, the big date, as to whether we will see any of the other 3 eligible players who could reinstate on the PGA Tour via the returning member programme.